No big deal. The practices we'll be doing help us develop trust in our awakened heart, our bodhicitta. If we could finally grasp how rich we are, our sense of heavy burden would diminish, and our sense of curiosity would increase. Bodhicitta has three qualities. 1. It is soft and gentle, which is compassion. 2. At the same time, it is clear and sharp, which is called prajna. And 3. It is open. This last quality of bodhicitta is called shunyata and is also known as emptiness. Emptiness sounds cold. However, bodhicitta isn't cold at all, because there's a hard quality, the warmth of compassion, that pervades the space and the clarity. Compassion and openness and clarity are all one thing, and this one thing is called bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is our heart, our wounded, softened heart. Now, if you look for that soft heart that we guard so carefully, if you decide that you're going to do a scientific exploration under the microscope and try to find that heart, you won't find it. You can look, but all you'll find is some kind of tenderness. There isn't anything that you can cut out and put under the microscope. There isn't anything that you can dissect or grasp. The more you look, the more you find just a feeling of tenderness tinged with some kind of sadness. This sadness is not about somebody mistreating us. This is inherent sadness, unconditioned sadness. It has part of our birthright, a family heirloom. It's been called the genuine heart of sadness. Sometimes we emphasize the compassionate aspect of our genuine heart, and this is called the relative part of bodhicitta. Sometimes we emphasize the open, unfindable aspect of our heart, and this is called the absolute, this genuine heart that is just waiting to be discovered. The first slogan of the 7 points of mind train in is first, train in the preliminaries. The preliminaries are the basic meditation practice, beneficial, supportive, warm-hearted, brilliant shamatha vipassana practice. When we say, first, train in the preliminaries, it's not as if we first do shamatha vipassana practice and then graduate to something more advanced. Shamatha vipassana practice is not only the earth that we stand on, it's also the air we breathe and the heart that beats inside us. Shamatha vipassana practice is the essence of all other practices as well. So when we say, first, train in the preliminaries, it simply means that without this good base there's nothing to build on. Without it we couldn't understand Tonglen practice, which I'll describe later, and we wouldn't have any insight into our mind, into either our craziness or our wisdom. Next, there are 5 slogans that emphasize the openness of bodhicitta, the absolute quality of bodhicitta. These point to the fact that, although we are usually very caught up with the solidness and seriousness of life, we could begin to stop making such a big deal and connect with the spacious and joyful aspect of our being. The first of the absolute slogans is regard all dharmas as dreams. More simply, regard everything as a dream. Life is a dream. Death is also a dream, for that matter, waking is a dream and sleeping is a dream. Another way to put this is, every situation is a passing memory. We went for a walk this morning, but now it is a memory. Every situation is a passing memory. As we live our lives, there is a lot of repetition, so many mornings greeted, so many meals eaten, so many drives to work and drives home, so many times spent with our friends and family, again and again, over and over. All of these situations bring up irritation, lust, anger, sadness, all kinds of things about the people with whom we work or live or stand in line or fight traffic. So much will happen in the same way over and over again. It's all an excellent opportunity to connect with this sense of each situation being like memory. Just a few moments ago, you were standing in the hall, and now it is a memory. But then it was so real. Now I'm talking, and what I have just said has already passed. It is said that with these slogans that are pointing to absolute truth, openness, one should not say, oh yes, I know, but that one should just allow a mental gap to open, and wonder, could it be? Am I dreaming this? Pinch yourself. Dreams are just as convincing as waking reality. You could begin to contemplate the fact that perhaps things are not as solid or as reliable as they seem. Sometimes we just have this experience automatically, It happens to us naturally. I read recently about someone who went hiking in the high mountains and was alone in the wilderness at a very high altitude. If any of you have been at high altitudes, you know the light there is different. There's something more blue, more luminous about it. Things seem lighter and not so dense as in the middle of a big city, particularly if you stay there for some time alone. You're sometimes not sure if you're awake or asleep. This man wrote that he began to feel as if he were cooking his meals in a dream and that when he would go for a walk, he was walking toward mountains that were made out of air. He felt that the letter he was writing was made of air, that his hand was a phantom pen writing these phantom words, and that he was going to send it off to a phantom receiver. Sometimes we, too, have that kind of experience, even at sea level. It actually makes our world feel so much bigger. Without going into this much more, I'd like to bring it down to our shamatha practice. The key is, it's no big deal. We could all just lighten up. Regard all dharmas as dreams. With our minds we make a big deal out of ourselves, out of our pain, and out of our problems. If someone instructed you to catch the beginning, middle, and end of every thought, you'd find that they don't seem to have a beginning, middle, and end. They definitely are there. You're talking to yourself, you're creating your whole identity, your whole world, your whole sense of problem, your whole sense of contentment, with this continual stream of thought. But if you really try to find thoughts, they're always changing. As the slogan says, each situation and even each word and thought and emotion is passing memory. It's like trying to see when water turns into steam. You can never find that precise moment. You know there's water, because you can drink it and make it into soup and wash in it, and you know there's steam, but you can't see precisely when one changes into the other. Everything is like that. Have you ever been caught in the heavy-duty scenario of feeling defeated and hurt, and then somehow, for no particular reason, you just drop it? It just goes, and you wonder why you made much ado about nothing. What was that all about? It also happens when you fall in love with somebody. You're so completely into thinking about the person 24 hours a day. You're haunted and you want him or her so badly. Then a little while later, I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone and I just can't get it back. We all know this feeling of how we make things a big deal and then realize that we're making a lot out of nothing. I'd like to encourage us all to lighten up, to practice with a lot of gentleness. This is not the drill sergeant saying, lighten up or else. I have found that if we can possibly use anything we hear against ourselves, we usually do. For instance, you find yourself being tense and remember that I said to lighten up, and then you feel, basically, I'd better stop sitting because I can't lighten up and I'm not a candidate for discovering bodhicitta or anything else. Gentleness in our practice and in our life helps to awaken bodhicitta. It's like remembering something. This compassion, this clarity, this openness are like something we have forgotten. Sitting here being gentle with ourselves, we're rediscovering something. It's like a mother reuniting with her child, having been lost to each other for a long time, they reunite. The way to reunite with bodhicitta is to lighten up in your practice and in your whole life. Meditation practice is a formal way in which you can get used to lightening up. I encourage you to follow the instructions faithfully, but within that form to be extremely gentle. Let the whole thing be soft. Breathing out, the instruction is to touch your breath as it goes, to be with your breath. Let that be like relaxing out. Sense the breath going out into big space and dissolving into space. You're not trying to clutch it, not trying to furrow your brow and catch that breath as if you won't be a good person unless you grab that breath. You're simply relaxing outward with your breath. Labeling our thoughts is a powerful support for lightening up, a very helpful way to reconnect with shunyata, this open dimension of our being, this fresh, unbiased dimension of our mind. When we come to that place where we say, thinking, we can just say it with an unbiased attitude and with tremendous gentleness. Regard the thoughts as bubbles and the labeling like touching them with a feather. There's just this light touch, thinking, and they dissolve back into the space. Don't worry about achieving. Don't worry about perfection. Just be there each moment as best you can. When you realize you've wandered off again, simply very lightly acknowledge that. This light touch is the golden key to reuniting with our openness. The slogan says to regard all dharmas, that is, regard everything, as a dream. In this case, we could say, regard all thoughts as a dream, and just touch them and let them go. When you notice you're making a really big deal, just notice that with a lot of gentleness, a lot of heart. No big deal. If the thoughts go, and you still feel anxious and tense, you could allow that to be there, with a lot of space around it. Just let it be. When thoughts come up again, see them for what they are. It's no big deal, you can loosen up, lighten up, whatever. That's the essential meaning of the absolute bodhicitta slogans, to connect with the open, spacious quality of your mind, so that you can see that there's no need to shut down and make such a big deal about everything. Then when you do make a big deal, you can give that a lot of space and let it go. In sitting practice, there's no way you can go wrong, wherever you find yourself. Just relax. Relax your shoulders, relax your stomach, relax your heart, relax your mind. Bring in as much gentleness as you can. The technique is already quite precise. It has a structure, it has a form. So within that form, move with warmth and gentleness. That's how we awaken bodhicitta.